firmware. And once you are ready with the program or the firmware, so you need to execute or you need to run that on the board. So that firmware and the hardware. So you need to integrate between that. So you need to make a bridge, or you have to have communicate with that interface, like using the firmware with a hardware device, that is nothing but your board. So how or what are the different techniques which we will be using for doing that? We will be discussing that here. So embedding firmware into the target board. So you have a target board. So that is nothing but, for example, you consider your lab. In your lab, you have seen the ARM evaluation board. So that is your target board. And firmware is nothing but the program which you are writing using your system or PC or your laptop. So that is a code. So once you write the code, so you have to embed that code or interface that code or integrate that code to the target board. So which is nothing but your ARM evaluation board. So that embedding firmware into the target board is nothing but integration of hardware and the firmware. So embedding, it is also referred as embedding intelligence into the product. So intelligence is nothing but your firmware, product is nothing but your board. So you have to embed your intelligence into the product. So the embedded processor or controllers used in the target board may or may not uh, have built-in code memory. So they may not have a built-in code memory. The embedded processor or controllers which are used in the target board, they may have or may not have the built-in code memory. So for non-operating system-based embedded products. So we discussed in the embedded system, sometimes you will be having operating system, sometimes you will not be having operating system. So operating systems are not necessary. For example, you will be having an embedded system which is a very small toy, simple toy, or a robo which you have done a very small robo. For that kind of embedded systems and all, you don't require operating system. So in that case, for simple applications wherein non-operating systems are available, no, it is not available. So how exactly you're going to do with this integration of firmware with the hardware? So if the processor or controller does not support built-in code memory, and then in that time you should also have external dedicated EEPROM or flash memory chips which is used for holding the firmware. So suppose your processor or microcontroller chip does not support built-in code memory, it is not going to have memory also. So that chip is not going to have operating system. If that chip is not going to have the built-in memory, code memory, then you should have a dedicated EEPROM or flash chip, flash memory chip used for holding the firmware. So that will be outside the microcontroller or the processor. So what are the different techniques you are going to use for integrating your firmware with the hardware? So firmware is nothing but the code or the software part which you have written to make that embedded system work. So hardware is nothing but your target board or board. So are the board where you are going to execute this particular firmware or the software. So how we are going to do the integration between these two, hardware and firmware? So that is the thing we are going to see here. So in the lab, you might have seen how you are going to do is, once you write the program using the Keil software, you will be using Keil and you will be typing your program in the Keil software. Once you finish typing your program, you will be following some steps to compile your program. Once the compilation is done, so you will be creating hex file. So you remember that you will be creating hex file. So hex file is nothing but your machine code. So it has generated the machine code. Once the machine code is ready or it is generated, so now that machine code or hex code which you have generated, so that should be sent to the board. So how, what technique you are going to use for sending that particular hex code from the Keil software to the board? Anyone? So how you have or which technique you have used for sending that hex file onto the board, your target board, for running or executing your programs, hardware programs in the lab? So what you have used?
Flash Magic.
Flash Magic, correct. So you have used Flash Magic technique. So you'll be having a interface there, Flash Magic technique. Using that Flash Magic, so you will be able to send your that hex file onto the target board, that is your ARM evaluation board. So that image will be sent, or that hex code image will be sent to that particular a board, and there you will be doing executing that particular program. So that is what called as integrating hardware and firmware. So there are different techniques which will be used for doing this. So we will see one by one here. So the chip is interfaced to the process, like a variety of techniques are used for embedding the firmware into the target board. So here we are going to discuss among that 5 of them. So one is out of circuit programming. The second one is in system programming. Third one is in application programming, use of factory programmed chip. Fourth one, and the fifth one is firmware loading for operating based devices. So these are the 5 techniques which can be used for integrating your hardware and firmware. So whatever the firmware you write on your system, that should be integrated to the hardware or the board or the target machine. So what are the different methods used means these are the 5 important methods which will be used. Out of circuit, then in system programming or ISP, then the third one is in application programming or IAP, then use of factory programmed chip, and the fifth one is firmware loading for operating based devices. So in this, when you see our LPC 2148, so which method it uses means it is supporting both in system programming as well as in application programming. So when you see the features of LPC 2148, you can remember. So these are the 2 things, integrations supported by our LPC 2148. So different controllers will use different kinds of techniques. We have to discuss one by one what exactly is this. So first one, we'll take it off out of circuit programming. So in the name itself, you can see here out of circuit programming. So it is performed outside the target board. So integration of your firmware to the board will be performed outside the target board. So it will not be done inside the target board. So out of circuit programming is performed outside the target board. So suppose you have developed a code and you have executed, or you are ready with your code in your system. So in your system, your code is ready, hex file is also generated. So that you need to send it to the target board. So directly it will not be sent to the target board. So in the target, to send that code to the target board, so you're going to use out of circuit programming means that process is going to be performed outside the target board. So how that process is going to be performed outside the target board means, so in that board or the chip, you will be having a memory chip, the processor or memory chip into which the firmware needs to be embedded. So you have to load your firmware into the memory chip. So that chip is taken out from the target board and it is going to be programmed outside the board. So in the board, you will be having a small chip for the memory. So that memory chip will be taken out from the target board, and outside that board, you will be loading your program or the firmware which you have already written, and made it ready for execution. So that hex file or the program will be loaded into that memory chip outside the board. So that is the technique they are going to use in this particular out of circuit programming. So it will be done with the help of programming devices like lab TOL 48 UXP. So this is a device they will be using. So the programming device is dedicated unit which contains the necessary hardware circuit to generate the programming signals, and then the programming device will be under control of utility program running on a PC. So in your PC, you'll be running some program, utility program. So that particular device which you are going to take out from the target board, that programming device or the chip, whatever you call. So you take out that from the board. So that will be under the control of a program which is running on a PC. So that usually the device is interfaced to PC using RS-232 or USB or parallel port. So you can use RS-232 or a serial port or USB port or parallel port. So with the help of these things, that particular chip can be connected to your PC. So the device will be interfaced to your PC, and from the PC, whatever the firmware is ready, so that will be transferred to that particular device or a chip which you have taken out from the board. So once that chip is ready or loaded with that particular firmware or the software, so then that will be inserted again back to the board. So we'll see the sequence of operations. What are the sequence of operations for embedding this particular firmware with a programmer is listed below. So how exactly that is going to be done. So the first step is connect the programming device to the specified port of PC. So after taking that programming device or the chip from the target board, you need to connect that particular device to the specified port of your PC. So where your firmware is available. Then power up the device, switch on the device, then execute the programming utility on the PC and ensure proper connectivity is established between PC and the programmer. So once you connect that particular chip or the device to your PC, so you'll be running some programming utility or utility programs on the PC, and you need to make sure that there is a proper connection between your PC and that particular programming device. Like how you connect your what? Pen drives, all those kind of things. So same way, that memory chip you are removing from the target board and you are connecting to your PC. So that connection establishment, like whether it is connected or not, you have to check. So unlock the ZIF socket by turning the lock pin. So you might have seen in the labs, in the ADE labs, so on the trainer kit, you have the slots where you insert the ICs. So you would have seen in the rightmost corner, a very big slot is there of 40 pins kind of thing. So like that, one socket will be there. So you have to unlock that. You will be having a knob for that locking and unlocking. So you have to unlock that ZIF socket by turning the lock pin, then insert the device to be programmed. Whatever the chip or the memory chip you have taken out from the board. So insert that device onto that particular socket, on the open socket, and then you need to one second. So you can see here, this is the socket which you can see here. So wherein you have the pins, all those things here, and this is the latch you have for locking and opening. So you're going to insert that particular memory device on this particular socket, and then you're going to lock it. So insert that device to be the program into that open socket as per the diagram, whatever we have shown. Then lock that ZIF socket. So you should lock that knob, and then select the device name from the list of supported device. So which is that particular device you have used, you are using for programming. That means your firmware should be sent to that particular chip. So that name of the chip need to be selected in your PC. So you'll be having the options. When you use the FlashMagic also, you have the options. You need to select all those options. Same way here also, it is in a different manner. So you need to select the device name from the list of supported devices. Then load the particular hex file, whichever you want to load it into that particular chip or the programming chip. So that hex file you have to load, which is to be embedded into the device. Then program the device by program options of utility program. So then wait till the completion of the programming is done. Programming operation is done. Then ensure that programming is successful by checking the status LED on the programmer. So you'll be having some LED which is going to indicate the status, whether the complete firmware is loaded into that memory device or not. So you need to make sure that everything is transferred. So the firmware is transferred from your PC to that memory chip. So whether it is done or not, you have to make sure by seeing the status of the LED. Then unlock the ZIF socket and take the device out of that particular socket, and then that device you need to again insert in the target board. So these are the steps which are used for embedding your firmware into the hardware, which is using the method called as out of circuit programming. So you're going to take out the memory chip from the target board outside that, and you will connect that memory chip to your PC, and whatever the firmware available in your PC ready to execute, that is the hex file. So that should be loaded into that memory chip, and later that chip need to be inserted back to the board. It's a tedious work again. So that is the method which we use as out of circuit programming. So this is the first technique which is used for integrating hardware with your firmware. So we'll see the second one, that is in-system programming. So ISP. So this is the in-system programming which LPC 2148 supports in our labs and all. What we are doing with respect to this method only, in-system programming. So LPC 2148, what it uses. So with ISP programming, is done within the system. So in the meaning, in the heading only you have the meaning, that is in system programming. So as we have seen in the previous method, out of circuit, but here it is called as in system because it is done within the system. So means that firmware is embedded into the target device without removing it from the target board. You are not going to remove any chip or memory chip from the target board. So instead, within that system only, you are going to do the programming. It is the most flexible and easy way of firmware embedding. So this in-system program is considered as the most flexible and very easy way of firmware embedding. So in the previous method, we have seen you have to remove the chip and then you have to insert that or make the connection with a PC. So it's a tedious task. But here in the in-system programming, it makes it very easy for the firmware to embed into the hardware and also flexible. The only prerequisite is that the target device must have an ISP support. So the target device should have the in-system programming support, like our LPC2148, it has that in-system programming support. So it should have that prerequisite. Otherwise, everything becomes easy and flexible. So chips supporting ISP generates the necessary programming signals internally. So whichever the chips which supports this particular technique, that is ISP, it is going to generate the necessary programming signals internally. So internally only it generates. The target ports can be interfaced to the utility program running on PC through serial port or USB. So either you can have serial port or USB. So that is RS232 or USB. In our lab also, we are going to connect your board with the CPU. You might have seen. So there is a serial port connection. Other than that, sometimes we may also use USB connection also. So either of these two can be used for interfacing the utility program running on the PC to the board. So you will be having the connection using the serial port or USB. So the serial protocols used for ISP may be Joint Test Action Group, that is JTAG. So you're going to use the protocols, serial protocols, which are used for this ISP. One is JTAG and the other one is SPI, that is Serial Peripheral Interface, or any other proprietary protocols can also be used. So for making it possible, communication, that serial communication, to make it possible, so you can use either JTAG or SPI protocol or any other proprietary protocol which allow the communication with an external host through a serial interface from the PC to your target board. So device with SPI in-system programming support, it contains a built-in SPI interface, like on-chip EEPROM or flash memory is programmed through this interface. So suppose you have this SPI interface or protocol if you are using. So you will be using some primary IO lines which are like MOSI. We discussed already this in I think module 4. So MOSI, master out slave in, then MISO, master in slave out, SCL, that is system clock, then reset of target device, and ground of target device. These are some IO lines. So that will be available with this SPI protocol. So when you make use of this SPI protocol, these primary IO lines are also involved. So master out slave in, master in slave out, then system clock, then reset pin and ground. So the power up sequence for in-system programming for Atmel 89 series. So here they have explained the steps for different series, microcontroller series, not for the LPC2148. So Atmel is another microcontroller family or the series. So in that 8089S is one of the microcontroller. So for that, how the power up sequence for in-system programming using this SPI protocol is done. So that is explained, the steps are explained here. So in the step 1, so apply supply voltage between VCC and ground pins of target chip. So you'll be having ground and VCC pin. So we discussed here. So SPI protocol is going to have ground pin on and VCC also. So you have to apply the supply voltage between VCC and ground pins of the target chip. And then second step, set the reset pin to high state. So you will be having a reset pin, set that reset pin to high state. And then if a crystal is not connected across pins extol 1 and extol 2, then apply a 3 megahertz to 24 megahertz clock to extol 1 pin and wait for at least 10 milliseconds. So you would have seen in the flash magic, we are going to use all these, we are going to do all these settings like baud rate, all those things. Same way here also for the oscillations and all. So you will be having extol1 and extol2 like the crystals, so which need to be applied with a frequency of 3 megahertz to 24 megahertz. If it is not done, so you have to apply that values and wait for at least 10 milliseconds. Then enable a serial programming by sending the programming enable serial instruction to pin MOSI P1.5. So MOSI, that is nothing but master out slave in pin. So that particular pin will be used for serial communication by sending the enable signal, programming enable signal. To that particular pin, you have to send that signal. And after that, the power of the code or data array is programmed 1 byte at a time by supplying the address and data together with appropriate write instruction. So you need to transfer the content from your PC to the target board. So your data array, whatever the data or the code array is programmed 1 byte at a time. So you can send 1 byte at a time by supplying the address and the data. You need to supply both address and data together with appropriate write instructions, because you are writing something from the PC to the target port. Then any memory location can be viewed by memory location can be verified by using the read instruction, which returns the content at the selected address at a serial output MISO. So master in, slave out, it's a serial output. So you can also verify, or you can also read by sending the address. You can verify that by sending the address, what is the content present. So after successfully programming the device, set the RST pin low. So once everything is done, so you have to set the RST pin to low and then turn off the chip power supply and turn it on to commence the normal operation. So you need to turn off the power supply and again turn it on to start with the normal operations. So that is nothing but in system programming. So the same thing we are also going to do in our lab using FlashMagic for LPC 2148. So here the steps are explained for Atmel microcontroller, a different series of the microcontroller. So there will be some different steps, but in FlashMagic we will use some different steps. So it is same. We'll be seeing only little difference in the steps or the settings what we follow. So otherwise everything is done. You're going to transfer your hex code from the PC to your target board, and then you make your target board ready for execution. So that is nothing but our firmware or the software is transferred to the board or the hardware. You have integrated your firmware to the board or the hardware. So that is the second technique or second type of technique which we'll be using for hardware and firmware integration. The third technique is in-application programming. So in-application programming is a technique used by the firmware running on the target device for modifying selected portion of the code memory. So this in-application programming will not be used as the first, it will not be used for first time embedding of user written firmware. See, in system programming, we will be using it for first time. That means you have written the firmware or the code on the system and you are transferring your hex code onto the target machine. So to make execute that particular hardware, you are using that. But this in-application programming will not be used. It's not a technique for first time embedding of your user written firmware onto the hardware. So it is used as a modification. So suppose you want to do some modification on the selected portions. So in that situation, you will be using this in-application programming. It modifies the program code memory. It modifies the program code memory under the control of embedded application. So the boot ROM resident API instructions, which performs various functions such as programming, erasing, and reading the flash memory during ISP mode, are made available to the end user's application. Again, functions are performed by setting up specific registers as required by a specific register by a specific operation and performing a call to the common entry point. So you're going to have a common entry point and you will be able to alter on some specific registers only. So the user should set the status bit before only to calling the common entry point for IAP operation. So using that common entry point, you have to set the status bit in that, and with that common entry point only, you will be able to allow to make the alterations or modifications in the program code memory. And this method will not be used as the first time embedding of user firmware to the hardware device. So it will be used only for altering or modifying some of the codes which are present in the hex file. So that thing will be done. So this is a third method which we call it as in application programming. So we have next one as the fourth one, use of factory programmed chip. So this is nothing but it is possible to embed the firmware into the target processor or controller memory at the time of chip fabrication itself. So whenever you're going for the production of embedded systems in a mass, so you're going to produce many lakhs together of embedded systems. So that time in the factory itself, your firmware is going to be what you call fabricated in the chip itself. So such kind of chips are known as factory programmed chips. So once the firmware design is over, so you will be having a team, you'll be dividing the team into software design, hardware design, like that kind. So firmware design development team is going to make this firmware ready. So your firmware design is over and it is ready, and that firmware is achieved operational stability, and the firmware files can be sent to the chip fabricator. It will be sent to the chip fabricator, and then that firmware is going to be embedded into the code memory or the chip memory. So then the factory programmed chips are convenient for mass production. So these kind of things are used for mass production, and it greatly reduces the product development time. See, whenever you go for the washing machines or microwave ovens, so it is not going to differ. So once you develop the particular firmware for that particular microwave oven model or washing machine model, all those things, so it is set. So you need not change that particular firmware. So it is used for mass production. So that time at the factory level itself, you are going to program the chip and then fabricate itself in the factory, and then you are going to embed that in that particular embedded system. So that kind of technique, we call it as use of factory programmed chip. And the last one, the fifth one, is firmware loading for operating based devices. So that is nothing but OS based embedded systems are programmed using in system programming technique only. So embedded systems which makes use of operating system. So that kind of embedded systems are programmed using ISP technique only. So OS based embedded system contain a special piece of code called as bootloader program which takes control of the OS and application firmware, embedding and copying of the OS image to the RAM of the system for execution. So you know that your operating system, all those things, loaders will be sitting in the RAM, and then when the execution should happen, it should be bring to that operating system code or boot code, everything should be brought to the primary memory. So for that, you will be having the loader and all. So bootloader programs, which is going to have the control over all these operating system applications. So the bootloader for such embedded systems comes as preloaded. So it will be preloaded, or it can be loaded to the memory using various interface supported like JTAG. So this bootloader, so this sometimes it comes as the preloaded at the memory, or else you may use this JTAG technique to load that particular bootloader. So the bootloader contains necessary driver initializations, implementations for initializing the supported interfaces like UART, I2C, like TCP IP, all these connections. So bootloader implements menu options for selecting the source OS image to load. So for this kind of applications, you will be using this firmware loading for operating based devices.